They said humanity was doomed a speck of dust against an empire that devoured stars. But on a dying world, under a sky of fire, one ship, one crew, one defiant spark refused to fade. This is the story of how humans turned the galaxy's greatest war machine to ash, with nothing but courage and a ship called Defiant. Welcome, listeners, to a tale of humanity's unyielding spirit. Sit back, close your eyes, and let me take you to the edge of the galaxy, to a time when hope was a flicker, and humanity was the ember that refused to die. This is the last ember of defiance. The year was 2478. Humanity had spread across the stars, a patchwork of colonies stretching from the Orion Arm to the fringes of the Perseus Veil. We were not the strongest, nor the fastest, nor the most advanced. The galaxy was a brutal place, filled with empires older than our sun civilizations, that saw us as little more than upstart primates, noisy and insignificant. The Kha'Vren Dominion, a sprawling empire of insectoid overlords, ruled half the known stars. Their carapatched warships blotted out suns, their hive-mind intellect calculated strategies in milliseconds, and their mercy, well, that was a concept they never bothered to learn. Humanity, though, we were scrappy. We built ramshackle stations in asteroid belts, cobbled together ships from salvaged wrecks, and survived on stubbornness alone. But stubbornness only gets you so far when a Dominion purge fleet sets its sights on your world. And that's exactly what happened to Epsilon Eridani, foreknown to its colonists as New Haven. New Haven was a dusty, stubborn little planet. Its skies were a bruised purple, its soil barely fertile, but its people, its people were fire. Miners, farmers, engineers' families who'd carved out a life against all odds. They'd heard rumors of the Dominion's purges, worlds turned to ash for daring to exist outside the Kha'Vren's control. But New Haven's colonists believed they were too small, too insignificant to matter. They were wrong. When the Dominion fleet arrived, it was like a storm swallowing the sky. 100 ships, each the size of a city, their hulls gleaming like polished obsidian. The colonists had no navy, no orbital defenses, only a handful of outdated frigates and a single orbital platform, armed with railguns that hadn't fired in decades. The Kha'Vren didn't bother with ultimatums. They didn't need to. Their message was clear: submit or burn. The first salvo hit New Haven's capital, Jericho City, at dawn. Plasma lances carved through skyscrapers, turning steel to slag. The colony's comms network screamed with chaos parents calling for children, pilots scrambling to their ships, and the governor broadcasting a desperate plea for surrender. But surrender wasn't in New Haven's blood. Not yet. In a dusty bunker beneath Jericho City, a woman named Captain Mara Kane stood before a hollow table, her face lit by the flickering map of the planet. Mara was no stranger to impossible odds. She'd been a smuggler before. The colony drafted her into service. Her ship, the Defiant, a patched-up relic that could outrun anything short of a supernova. At 42, with scars crisscrossing her arms and a glare that could melt steel, Mara was the kind of leader who didn't inspire with speeches, she inspired by doing. We've got 3 frigates, a half-charged railgun platform, and maybe 1,000 fighters on the ground. Her second-in-command, Lieutenant Reza Patel, said, his voice tight. The Dominion's got 100 ships. Mara, we can't fight that. Mara didn't look up from the holotable. We don't fight, Twin Reza. We fight to survive. She traced a finger across the map, her eyes narrowing. The Dominion fleet was deploying in a standard purge formation, tight, disciplined, predictable. But predictability was a weakness, and Mara knew it. She'd spent years dodging Kha'Vren patrols in the asteroid belts, learning their patterns. The Dominion was a hive mind, but hive minds don't improvise. Humans thrive on chaos. Mara's plan was insane. She called it Operation Ember. the colony's 3 frigates would launch a diversionary strike, drawing the Dominion's attention to the planet's northern pole. Meanwhile, the Defiant, loaded with every fusion core the colony could spare, would slip through the blockade, aiming for the Dominion's flagship, the Ecliptic Sovereign. If they could detonate the cores inside the flagship's reactor bay, the chain reaction might cripple the fleet. It was a 1 in a million shot, and it would probably kill them all. But Mara didn't ask for volunteers. She didn't need to. Every soul on the Defiant knew the stakes. As the Defiant roared into the sky, New Haven burned. The Dominion's ground forces swarms of Kara-poached warriors poured into Jericho City, their claws tearing through barricades. The colonists fought back with everything they had, mining lasers, jury-rigged explosives, even shovels and fists. Children hid in basements, clutching their parents' hands, while the sky glowed with the fire of falling ships. But the colonists didn't break. They sang old Earth songs, defiant and raw, as they held the line. Up in orbit, the 3 frigates burned bright and brief. They lasted 20 minutes against the Dominion's onslaught, taking out 2 enemy cruisers before they were reduced to glowing debris. But those 20 minutes were enough. The Defiant slipped through a gap in the blockade, cloaked in a haze of electromagnetic chaff. Mara stood on the bridge, her hands steady on the controls, her crew silent but resolute. They were ragtag bunch miners, mechanics, a former chef named Taro who manned the weapons console with terrifying precision. The Ecliptic Sovereign loomed ahead, a monolith of black and gold, its hull bristling with weapons. Mara's plan hinged on a single weakness: the Dominion's arrogance. Their flagship's reactor bay was lightly guarded, because no one had ever been foolish enough to attack it directly. Mara wasn't just foolish, she was human, and humans don't play by the rules. The Defiant dove toward the flagship, weaving through a storm of plasma fire. Taro's guns roared, clearing a path through the Dominion's drones. The ship shuddered, hull plates buckling, but Mara kept her course. "Hold steady," she growled, her voice a beacon in the chaos. "We're not dying for nothing." They breached the reactor bay at 3:47. Ship time. The fusion cores were armed, their timers ticking down from 60 seconds. Mara's crew knew there was no escape. Their ship was too damaged to outrun the blast. But as the cores hummed, ready to unleash a star's worth of fury, Mara broadcast a final message to the Dominion fleet. Not to the Kha'Vren, but to their slaves there. Millions of subjugated species forced to serve the Dominion SCRAP machine. "This is Captain Mara Kane of the human vessel Defiant," she said, her voice steady despite the alarms. "You've been told humans are weak, that we're nothing. But we're here, in the heart of your empire, and we're not bowing. Fight with us. Be free." The cores detonated. A supernova bloomed inside the Ecliptic Sovereign, tearing it apart from within. The explosion rippled through the Dominion fleet, disabling half their ships in a cascade of EMPs and debris. On New Haven, the colonists saw the sky ignite, a beacon of hope in the darkness. The Dominion's ground forces faltered, their heave mine link severed by the flagship's destruction, and across the galaxy, Mara's message echoed, reaching the ears of the enslaved. New Haven didn't fall that day. The colonists fought on, reclaiming their streets, their homes, their world. Word of the Defiant's sacrifice spread, carried by traitors and rebels, until it became a legend. The Kha'Vren Dominion never recovered. Their empire cracked, not because of fleets or weapons, but because of a single human ship that dared to say no, because of a woman who saw a spark of hope and turned it into a blaze. That's what it means to be human. We're not the strongest, we're not the smartest, but when the universe tells us to kneel, we stand. When it tells us to die, we fight. And when it tells us we're nothing, we burn so bright, the stars themselves take notice. Thank you for joining me on this journey. Listeners, if this story of defiance lit a spark in you, share it with the galaxy. Subscribe, leave a comment, and let's keep the fire of humanity burning. Until next time, stay defiant.